All right, guys, we're back here with Casey Smith. Casey, so you're like one of the very select few that have returned to the Robby Row Show, man. How does it feel to be a returner?
I feel special, man. I appreciate it. That makes me put myself in a little elite class there. How about that?
Right. Well, you have a lot to live up to now. So if this podcast, you gotta. Dude, I was sitting here thinking like, okay, well, do you remember when it was that you came on? Because we did a 3-parter. Like we talked for so long. I forget when it was. It was during the winter though, right?
I think was it last spring, like going into baseball season? Has it been that long, or was it? I don't think it was this past winter.
No, wasn't it during spring training? Because we were talking about games. I thought your boy Michael hitting bombs in spring training.
Me, it's winter because in Michigan it's like winter until May. So guys are already. It's terrible, bro. It's 30 degrees here today with a 15-mile-an-hour wind.
What the weather was like there.
I'm so mad right now because it's so cold, and I want to go out. We're trapped inside already, and I can't even go outside now. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm sitting here complaining in Northern California because we had 2 rain days in a row, but now today.
I don't want to hear it.
It's about to be 75 and sunny.
Yeah, we went a month without seeing the sun.
A month? Well, dude, I lived in Omaha, man, so I grinded for a little bit with you in the trenches.
That's not even close. Michigan's terrible.
Is it not even close to that?
Dude, Michigan, last February, we had 24 hours of sunlight the whole month.
Dude, what?
Yeah, that's how, and that's what's so challenging for Michigan baseball players is like, it's legit. You can't do anything outside for 6 months.
Right. So you got to have just a ton of indoor facilities, right?
Yeah, there's a ton of we've got the big domes and that type of stuff where a lot of kids will play a big chunk of their early spring season in a dome, especially for the little guys.
Do you just supplement the crap out of vitamin D?
Yeah. Hey, no, legit. They have vitamin D therapy places where people go basically lay in tanning beds to get supplemental vitamin D.
Oh, so that's a real thing.
It's a real thing. And they have vitamin D deficiency depression where you're you're so pale that you've had a sun for so long that you literally get depressed. So,
yeah, we're just gonna this whole podcast is just gonna be we're gonna be talking about tanning beds and what tanning lotion to use. We're actually not talking baseball today, so sorry guys for those joining in. Well, yeah, man, I appreciate you taking the time and joining. We have a lot to catch up on. I feel like. I mean, I think the first 3-part episode we did, we really covered a lot of bases there. You've blown up in that time, so congrats on everything you're doing. You're killing it. But we talked a little bit before I hit record, and we were saying, with these pandemic times, a lot of kids having to really get creative, right? A lot of kids having to get creative. I guess the kids in Michigan are already kind of used to being creative with all that weather. But what are kind of your tips? I would say, I know it's a super broad question, man, but what are your biggest tips for kids from the hitting side for getting their work in, without being able to go to a park or without the facilities and stuff like that?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of things. I think number one, you really find out how much you love baseball during this time. So if you're trapped in pandemic status and you can't do anything, and you're at home and some of your buddies are like, hey, let's go hit, or hey, let's go throw, or whatever. Or you've got a net set up in your backyard and you don't live somewhere it's freezing cold and you can go outside. You're like, I'd rather just play video games. You start to kind of really figure out what your priorities are, what you really love. So that's number one. Right. Is if your passion is baseball, this is the time that you figure out how much you really miss it. And, what are you going to do to use this time as a positive instead of a negative? The other side too is not just players, but coaches. Trying to be creative as coaches and figure out how to keep your players better. And then for coaches who, this is what we do for a living, trying to figure out ways to continue to engage players, when everything's, digital now. So, what we're doing the Zoom classes now 3 days a week in Ferber and Headley and Hunter.
What a crew, man.
It is a crew, bro.
It's a movie.
Hey, and I'll tell you what, we should start recording all of our phone calls and our own Zoom meetings between the 4 of us, and putting those out there, because I swear those are as good or better than the classes.
They're better, 100% better.
It's unreal.
Yeah. Well, that's usually with everything, right? Even like in baseball, dude, like the best content is like clubhouse talk or just like stuff when there's no cameras on.
Yep, it's the outtakes for sure, man. It's funny, but no. So to go back to that, that's one of the things is find online resources. Figure out what's out there. To if you're going to be spending time on a screen, like let's spend time doing something productive. And this is a time when what happens when we're playing. Well, I've got schoolwork, I've got practice, I've got this. So the intellectual side of the game gets put on the back burner. I don't have time to do that. This is when you can really start absorbing information about the game. Learning stuff about the swing. Learning stuff about like different pitch types and just all the information that's out there on social media and on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Reading books like Sean Green's book, about the mental side of baseball, like all those type of things. This is the time to do that, because what do you do in normal time? I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. So mentally, number one, this is when you really get stronger.
Right.
Number two is, for me, would be, especially when I know like, hey, I'm probably not going to play for a while. You start experimenting with stuff. Like with my swing, like I'm going to get in the backyard when nobody's watching, when it doesn't matter. And I'm going to start learning my body. Like I'm going to play around with stuff. And how good does this feel? What does this do? On the flip side of that, you have to be careful, because this is also a time that you can create bad habits, because you don't have live pitching. You don't have anything to put pitch pressure on you. You may not have somebody watching you. So what we were telling guys in the class the other day was, I would rather you spend an hour a day and go take 80 swings. But in those 80 swings, have every swing with intent. Like if you're hitting the ball just off the tee and that's the only thing you can do, get set up off the tee and imagine, like immerse yourself in a situation. You've got a pitcher on the mound. It's this count. There's this many runners on.
Oh, visualization. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And so go take 80 swings with high intent. Every one, treat it like it's an at-bat. Instead of, all right, I'm going to go take my 50 hacks and all right,
go
I'm
through
good.
the motions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
it's almost like that imagination, right? Like that creativity. That's like, that's where you get into some freaking really deep concepts of like being obviously intentional, right? And having like that love for doing it. We can make the argument that the love for doing it goes back to everything, but like being creative and being have that imagination like that Walt Disney talks about, and going out onto like a mound, dude. This is how nerdy I am. Like going out on a mound, empty park, dude, and doing the Jake Taylor, right, from Major League, like seeing the freaking whole thing packed, 2 outs, bottom 9. Taylor at the dish. But it's so true, right? Like you got to have a little bit of imagination and creativity for that stuff.
Exactly. And I think that's how you keep your mind sharp. You keep yourself ready, because then when the season does come in, guys are like, oh, man, we haven't seen live pitching. And be like, well, in my mind, dude, I've already got 100 at-bats. I've already walked myself through these situations. So I think that's a big key for kids. And I think that makes it more fun, too, because it's not just the same monotonous, hey, I'm hitting off a tee.
Right.
I think the other thing to do is, especially for the 14 and ups, is lift. Like you got school, you got practice, you got all that, and guys are like, well, I don't really have time to work out or whatever. Well, you got a lot of time now. So if I'm a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, I'm gonna come out of quarantine a lot stronger than I did going in. Now, if you're 36 like me and you're trapped in a house with 2 toddlers, you're probably going to come out 15 pounds heavier.
Oh, that's what I was saying the other night, dude. I was like, oh, man. At least, hey, bro. I'm freaking cue balling it over here.
And I haven't been able to get a haircut, but this is the toddler helipad.
You got to join the dark side, man. Just get rid of that. I'll send you a bag of razors. Get going, man. You got the beard, though. You're fine.
And so I do have the beard. Before quarantine, I was going like no guard fade up to a 1 guard, 1.5.
Okay, I respect.
So it was way shorter. This is my beard. I finally had to trim it because I looked like a homeless person. But it was like there was no. No. Yours is actually like you could.
I go beard bun. Yeah,
you got the beard bun going.
Yeah,
Mine was just like nobody's touched it in a month and a half. And it was, so I cleaned it up a little bit since I'm on camera.
Tom Hanks Castaway, if you guys want a visual.
That's what I would, except a fat castaway.
Oh, interesting concept.
So anyway, but no, dude, like I said, use this time to get your body better. So one of the things we've been doing, and you can see like down here in my little basement workout, hitting studio, yeah. I've got a bunch of PVCs. And it's one of the things I've been trying to do, like on Instagram and in our Zoom classes, is post things that you can do with simple stuff around the house. Right. And the PVC fields are huge. They're huge. And I've got multiple that I really like. Like I said, they're all on my Instagram page, where it's learning body control and body awareness. And it's amazing to me. Like, these are some of the stuff that, my guys that hit with me all the time, we do every day. But when I get a new hitter and you start to like, hey, okay, this is some of the things we want to do from a movement standpoint, how unaware or out of control hitters are of their body. And they don't realize it until you expose it, because when they go to swing, it's a trained movement that there's muscle memory there. They don't, that's why it's so hard to break some of those movement patterns. You start using PVC stuff to get feels. You're like, oh, wow, like I've never felt that before. And there's no ball coming at you. There's no pressure. This is the time to start to really work on movement stuff. So if you train movement stuff and then mental stuff, those are some of the most important things to creating a better hitter or a better pitcher. Right. So there's no excuse not to get better during this time.
Well, I think a lot of it too, because I want to double back to that visualization thing, because it's one of those concepts along with like breathing, right? It's super important, and everyone I think understands the importance behind it, but there's not buy-in. Right? Like, there's so much buy-in when it comes to the younger guys and training, right? We know from a physical standpoint that we need to be strong, stable, durable, X, Y, and Z, right? But when it comes to like the importance of the visualization and the controlling of one's breath, right, when times get stressful, I just don't see a lot of people buying into it. I think I see a lot of people going, yeah, that's good stuff. Like, it's kind of goofy, but it's good. But then they're not putting that into practice, right?
Yep.
So how do you kind of go about that with your guys, as far as like understanding the importance behind it?
So one of the things I try to explain to them is, you can have the best swing on earth. Okay. You can have flawless mechanics and you can be an absolute BP monster. And we've played with these guys, and you can suck in the game. Okay. You go hit $160. Okay. But you give me a guy that has these things. Okay. He's got good timing. He's got a good approach. And he's got good pitch selection. That guy can have a meh swing, and he's going to compete and give your team a chance to win. And I want that guy on my team. Okay. Now, obviously, at the highest level, at the big league level, pitchers are going to expose mechanical flaws. Okay. But at the high school level, when guys are throwing 80, 85 with mediocre off-speed stuff, like, you don't have to have this flawless swing. And so what I feel like guys do is they spend so much time pounding the mechanics. What we see on Instagram all the time, mechanics. Pitchers, that's all there is mechanics, like, because you're in control. Hitters, mechanics are going to be dictated by your approach. Okay, if your approach and your timing are off at the plate, your mechanics are going to break down. And so that's why, if you don't buy into the mental side of hitting, the visualization of expecting what's coming, of knowing what you're trying to do, of understanding the situations, I don't care how good your mechanics are, you're not going to hit. And so what we're doing is trying to put that first. Mental stuff comes first. Mechanics comes second. All right, they're both intertwined, but if you don't have one without the other, like, I would rather have a guy with a great mental approach, great pitch selection, great timing, than a guy with perfect mechanics.
It's a complete package.
Exactly. So, that's why how I try to get guys to understand that the mental side is just as important, and actually it's more important. And actually, one of my instructors, Pat Biondi, he played with the Mets in AAA, spent 7 years in their system. He's with Elevate Hitting. He's got his little page.
He does good stuff too.
Yeah, he does, man. And I've been working together with him now. We actually worked together when he was still playing, and I worked with him as a player. And now he's one of my instructors and does a fantastic job. But he's really big on the mental side of stuff. We had a conversation the other day about mental coaching and how guys go. What do? They go to strength coaches. They go to pitching coaches. They go to hitting coaches.
Right.
You got your
physical.
You got your speed agility coach, and they don't ever spend any time like talking to. I mean, even like just discussing the mental side of it. But you need to be able to train yourself mentally. Well, okay, so somebody's going to go, how do you do that? Well, you talk to a mental coach. And a mental coach doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that's like a paid mental skills coach that they have in the big leagues. It can be somebody that's played the game and been there and been through all of that. An older brother, a cousin, a friend, a coach, like whoever. But you need to sit down and have conversations about, hey, like, how do I prepare myself the night before? Like, what am I thinking about? What am I doing when I wake up in the morning? How am I getting my mind ready? Because that's not something you just do.
Right.
It's a learned skill. And so seeking out somebody that can help you both from the mental standpoint about learning how to prepare and then how to apply that knowledge, like that's not something you do. Just like, I don't know. And there are hitters that like fall out of bed because guys like, here you go. And they just rake.
And that works for them.
And that
they
works.
Need that. Yeah.
Okay. But not everybody's like that. I had to learn mechanical aspects just like I had to learn mental aspects. And in college, there were small mechanical tweaks, but giant mental tweaks that changed how I hit. So I would attribute more of the success I had at the college level to what I did with my approach and how I planned for the game and what I did, my thought processes were than my mechanics. My mechanics changed a tiny little bit, but my approach changed a lot. So that's why it's so important.
How many guys do you get in, like first-time clients of yours that come in and you ask them, say, like approach or plan, and they just have no idea? Like, is that
95% of them?
Okay, so talk about that coaching of a plan or a process or pre-pitch process and all that stuff that goes into it.
It's so funny to me because I get the cliches. It's every time I have a kid come in, and most of the time, a lot of pro guys, they come in the first time, they're going to have an idea. Right. And some college guys, but at the high school level, if I have a kid come in and he tells me like he has a very like specific plan, I'm like, that's a dude right there.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
And Warner Blakely is one of the kids I'm working with right now that, he's a big draft prospect for this coming draft. I'm, obviously bummed out that his senior year kind of got thrown away for high school, but not to go down that negative road, but
sure.
He was one of those kids, and when you're looking at a draft prospect, I look at makeup. Okay. And that's part of it to me is kid comes in and I'm like, hey, what are you thinking? What are you doing? And they're rattling off answers that are big league mindset at a high school level. It's like, that's a dude. Right. So the other side of that is I'd say 95% of them are regurgitating things that a coach has told them along the way. Yeah. There's no like ownership of what they want to do. It's always, well, I'm trying to hit a ball up the middle, or I'm looking for a pitch down the middle. It's just very generic, basic thoughts.
Or something they've heard that they just kind of, reiterate and not really understand the meaning.
Exactly. And then you go down to the younger ages, 10, 11, 12, 13, and it's, I'm trying to put the ball in play. I want to make contact. And that's they will go, I hope I get a hit. And so the first thing that I try to get guys to understand is, okay, do you feel like you're on time? Okay. And so we start with timing, and a lot of guys have no concept of timing. They think if they hit the ball in the barrel, they were on time. Right. Versus understanding getting the body ready to go on time and then allowing the barrel to work to a point of contact. So we start with timing, and then we go, okay, what are you really trying to do? And I'll do an example of this, and it's hilarious every time I do it because I get the same reaction. They're like, well, I want to get on base, or I want to get a hit. Right. Okay. And I'll stand in the box and I'll take a ball and I'll roll it about 8 feet out in front of the plate. And I'll go, okay, I got a swing and bunt. I got a fat pitcher on the mound. He can't get there fast. I run down to first base. Can't throws me out. I just accomplished my goal. I got a hit. And I'm on base. Is that what you want to do 4 times a game for the rest of your career?
You're in the big leagues, man.
Yeah. And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, well, why not? You accomplished your goal. And it's like, oh, well, I want to hit the ball hard. Okay, now we're starting to go somewhere. And then you start to build off of that. And younger kids getting their mindset of, I'm trying to hit the ball as hard as possible, as often as possible. Don't care about the result. I want to smash the baseball. Okay, and then older guys, it starts to get more refined. We're looking for zones. We're seeing what pitchers' tendencies are. We're understanding what approach is going to like dictate my swing. So my approach was I was trying to hit line drives at the second baseman's shins.
Yeah.
Okay? That created pull side elevation because that's the way my body worked.
Right.
And so, just going from there and then how that builds off the mechanics. I think when you get younger players that start to swing with intent, mechanics start to clean up on their own because they develop more timing. They're more aggressive. They're more ready to hit versus a wait and react. And so if I have a 12-year-old that's got some athleticism, he's got some hand-eye coordination, he goes up there with intent to do damage, he's going to do a lot of things pretty well already. And then we can work off of that into the mechanical side of it of, okay, so your misses are becoming this, and then during the season, what I ask guys is, when they're playing and they're coming in, we usually shut down mechanical stuff sometime and I don't say shut it down. We always work on things, early rounds, field rounds, that type of stuff. But then later in the lessons, we go more live at bats, mental stuff. We get into the season, first question when they come in the cage is, all right, how'd you do this weekend? And one of my pet peeves is they say, well, I did pretty good. I want numbers.
Yeah.
Right? And so all of my guys are trained. I need to know how many hits, how many at bats, how many RBIs, how many extra base hits. Those are what I want to know. So I went 5 for 10 with 2 doubles and a home run. Okay, good. All right, now if I have a guy come in and he said he struggled, all right, first thing I asked was, okay, what were your outs? Were there any consistencies? And we talk about that. And then I asked them, okay, did you feel like you swung at good pitches, all right, or did you feel like you took bad pitches? So, how was our pitch selection? Then I go, all right, what was your approach and did you stick with it?
Right.
Okay. And then number 3, were you on time? If they have a bad week or several bad at bats, 99% of the time, answer to one or more of those questions is going to be no. And so we start there and we start to work backwards from, okay, if the answer to all those 3 questions is yes, I did all of those things right, and I still struggled, we have a mechanical flaw we need to start to address.
Sure,
but if I address the mechanical flaw that's being caused by a timing or an approach flaw, now I'm not treating it, I'm band-aiding a severed artery. All right. And I'm going to keep bleeding. I'm just slowing it down, but I'm not really fixing the problem.
Right.
So that's kind of how I go about it. And then once the guys start to understand how important it is, that's how they buy in. To go back to your beginning question, that's how they buy into how important the mental side of it is. And then they learn my mental preparation it supersedes my physical preparation. I have to do both, but if I'm not ready to play here, it doesn't matter.
Well, it's all individual specific, right? Like,
yes.
I mean, a lot of your stuff and a lot of my stuff too is like people come to me wanting the physical, the mechanical analysis and stuff like that. And I think, obviously it's going to vary per age, but so many kids are in need of that identification process that's going to make them who they need to be, right? Like that plan of, okay, I know I'm really good when I think X, Y, and Z, or I know that I'm at my best when I'm not thinking X, Y, and Z, right? Like it's more of that style of coaching and kind of helping them along that path of identifying what it's going to take for them to be at their best. Because like we talked about, right? Like there's those guys that, and again, I've played with these guys too from the pitching side, is like roll out of bed, have no mental concept of what the heck they're doing in their delivery, but they shove and like that's them, right?
Yep.
Don't touch them. Don't talk about them, about mechanics or whatever it is. I'm sure it's the same for hitting. And then there's those guys who need a different approach to their pitching style. Like some need 2 or 3 mechanical cues that gets them on time and gets them online and so on and so forth. So, I mean, I'm sure you see that from like the hitting side, right? Especially from the young guys. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, everybody's different. I mean, like, you're going to have some guys that are going to need, a lot of different focal points, that are going to, and because the way their brain works, like, they're very analytical. They want information because it helps them process through what they're doing. And then you got other kids where you're just like, hey, be dumb. Like,
right.
See
Keep
fastball,
it simple, stupid.
hit fastball. Yes, exactly. So, and you've got to be able to figure out the personality. And honestly, just sitting here thinking about it, I mean, literally, I just thought of this idea, something. So I've been doing online video analysis. Like people send me videos and I do video analysis and I send a bunch
Where
of
can
drills.
they find that? Where can my audience find that?
Outfronthitting.com.
Okay, I'll throw that in the show notes too.
Yeah, it's just outfronthitting.com. And so I'm doing a couple things. I've got video analysis where they send me a video. I send them 3 or 4 drills back with a 5 to 8 minute analysis. Yeah. Then they work on it for a week, send me another video, go from there. I'm also doing my
idea. I get it.
Yeah. I'm also doing where I do that, and then I have like a 30-minute like Zoom conversation.
Oh, cool.
That adds to that. But just sitting here, I think one of the things I'm going to start doing is doing just 30-minute conversations about mental stuff. 100%. Where, hey, that I don't have the ability to go to a cage or it's challenging to get video right now, but I'd really just like to pick your brain and talk baseball and ask questions. And then
process development, dude.
Exactly. And then from my side, hey, let's learn about you as a hitter and what happens to you at the plate and just do 30-minute Zoom calls or Skype calls with hitters where we can talk through mental stuff and pitch recognition and all that. And it's just like a one-on-one conversation. Like I think I'm going to start doing that. So, guys, be looking for that on my website. I literally just thought about this during this conversation.
I'll take 5%. Yeah, for sure. I think that's so cool, man, because like, look, dude, we're in this time where I think all of these kids right now are thinking about, okay, what can I do today from the physical standpoint that's going to better equip me to be the best player that I can be? And it's like, dude, maybe the thing that you need to be the best player that you can be is not anything to do with your physical component, right? Like maybe and this is something that I got a fire post coming here in a few days, but it's going to be forcing yourself in uncomfortable environments and owning your breath to better have a control for your process, right? Like, so this is, I'm on this huge like cold shower kick right now, dude, like owning breath and just feeling uncomfortable being in that environment, accepting that and going, nope, I am in complete control of my breath. Here we go. Same thing in the box, right? Things speed up.
My head is going 100 miles an hour because you just got me so excited. So I had a conversation with one of my pro guys the other day, and y'all can probably figure out who it is based on guys that I talk to all the time. But we had a conversation about like training and doing velo work in spring training. And it was, well, my swing feels great right now, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, look, and this is going to build exactly what you said. I need you to feel comfortable being uncomfortable. That's the thought process. It was like, go get on the hack attack and make you feel really uncomfortable. Make it get you out of your element. Turn the thing up to 95 with high spin rate, right? And battle it and get to where you feel, grind it out. It's not what you're going to do all the time. We as hitters, we need that, hey, feel good rounds. But if that's all you ever do, you're never exposed to that situation. So relating it to football games, when I was playing high school football, were the easiest day of the week. That was the easiest night. Football practice, especially those Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, was absolute hell. Okay. It was it was survival mode. You got in the game and it's like, this is awesome.
Dude, Kobe Bryant would say the same thing with his practices too.
Okay. And so what happens is if we become comfortable feeling uncomfortable, now we're prepared for any situation. And one of my favorite lines that anybody's had is Mike Tyson. He goes, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. All right. So if I go up there and I've got this plan, and all of a sudden this pitcher does something he's blowing shed, he's got nasty stuff, I'm 0-2, bang, bang, I need to be very confident and comfortable being behind against a guy throwing nasty and not let that heart rate get up, let that breath get up, like let my adrenaline, oh my God. It's like, okay, cool, I've been in this situation. And what I told my pro guy was, let me tell you something. When you step in the box in Yankee Stadium and Garrett Cole's on the mound and he's throwing 100 with a 2,900 RPM spin rate fastball at a freaking 4-degree downward angle that looks like it's going up, and he's tunneling 4 pitches out of that same spot. Guess what? You go feel really, really uncomfortable. All right, now take that same situation, make it be top of the 7th. All right, you're down by 2 at Yankee Stadium. 50,000 people are booing you, and you're facing that dude. That's not a good place to be if you want to feel good about yourself.
Right.
But if you've already mentally done that and you've grinded through those uncomfortable situations, you feel like you're the freaking man when you're in that situation, and you're going to get it done.
Right.
So that's where exactly what you're saying is being able to control your mind when everything else is a haywire and you're very uncomfortable, you're out of your element.
Sure. It's funny too, because like everyone that watches baseball, right? Like they perceive it as such a slow game. And I think kids do the same when they watch it. It's like, oh, it's a slow game. Like I'm never going to have this game speed up on me, or I'm never going to have my mind unravel on me. But dude, how many times have you been in the box and it's like 0-2 in a matter of a blink of an eye? Or for me, like being a pitcher and early in my career as a starter, it was like before I knew it, it was like freaking 3-0, second and third, 1 out, and I got a neck spasm from watching freaking balls going to gap. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much truth to that, right?
Oh yeah, well, and think about it. I mean, even in the field, like for an infielder, okay, like clutch situation, if you haven't mentally thought about what you're going to do before the ball's hit, and that's what our coaches used to always say is know where you're going to go with the ball before it's hit to you. Think about how fast those things can happen. You make a split-second improper or hesitated decision, it costs your team 2 runs like that.
Right.
And so, you know, I don't want a guy hitting a ball 114 down the line at me, you know, when I'm on the grass and I've got to turn a double play. That's not fun, right? But you got to be able to make the plays. And, you know, you look at like a guy like Nolan or a guy like Machado or one of those, you know, the unreal defenders, they make it look so easy, but it's because they feel very comfortable in very intense, rushed, uncomfortable situations.
Oh, dude, and it's that pre-pitch plan, right? Like we talked about. It's so interesting because I was having a conversation like this on another podcast, but it was like we coach so much of like the mechanics and the physical component of like a swing or a throw, and think about the time it takes to complete that task. Like, dude, 2 to 3 seconds. And you're like, hey, you need to, and that's why I think it's so important with that identification thing, man, because it's like, if you're going out there and you're just doing things to do things, right? We talk about intentional training and stuff. Then when you get into a game, what do you think is going to happen?
Right.
And, and it's tough because it's like more of an advanced type approach, right? Some kids just want to play baseball because their buddies are playing.
Yep. Well, and so me and Pat were actually talking about this a couple months ago. He had read like some like Zen, you know, book about.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, dude. And so and it's so cool. Like I'm not going to sit down and read that, but I like to talk to people that have and like pull out the little. I don't know how to read, so I'm getting the Cliff Notes. I'm going to take the
audiobook, man.
Yeah, but it was talking about like these like warriors shooting arrows. All right, and if I try to like, and it's with pitching, if I try to aim it and I try to make it go where I want it to go, it's not going to work. But if I just trust my form, and I'm a bow hunter, so this applied to me a lot.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So like if I just trust my form and allow my form to let the arrow go where I'm trying to hit, boom, I drill it every time. But as soon as I try to like make it happen, I'm off. I'm very inconsistent.
Force the issue type thing. Yeah.
Right. So when it comes to throwing, it's trusting the mechanics and allowing it to, is letting the throw happen.
And getting the mind out of the way, you know what I mean? That's the hard part.
Yes. And then with swinging too, I've put all of this training and all of this emphasis on the mechanics, and then I get in the box against a live pitcher and I try to force myself to hit the ball. I'm trying to make contact instead of, I'm just going to take a swing and I'm going to allow the results to happen. Now you start to really see what your body's going to do, how it's going to respond, and you start seeing more results because everything starts to work more efficiently when you, and I know it sounds simple, but when you let it happen versus make it happen, now things really start to play out.
And that's why I always harp on this, dude, but it's so important to like put in the work, right? Like put in the work. So therefore, when you do get into battle and you do get into competition, you have that sense of peace, knowing that you've done everything that you can do beforehand. It's the pre-work, right? It's the process. Dude, control that. So then when you get out there, it's easier to say, hey, calm down. Like, dude, we put in this work for a reason. Like, now let's go.
So Chavis, he was on our Zoom class last Friday, and he came on and it was really, really cool. He gave a ton of good insight into, you know, his mindset as a young player, his mindset as a big leaguer. But he said one of the things that really helped him change his mindset in the game and deal with failure better was, he goes, I'm going to go through my pregame preparation and I'm going to do everything I can from the scouting report, from my mental preparation, from my pregame feels to BP. Yeah. And I'm going to know that when I walk out on the field, I've done everything in my power, that everything I'm capable of doing to be as prepared as I can be for that game. And he said he treats the game as the reward for his work, so that there's no pressure. It's, I've done everything I can to get myself ready, and I'm just going to go trust it.
Right.
And he said that I wanted to leave no doubt walking up to the plate every first at bat that I'd done everything I could mentally and physically to prepare myself for this game. So then now it's just, I just have fun. Right. And if I get out, I don't worry about it, because I know I still did everything in my power to give myself the best chance for success. Right. So now it's like, hey, if I get out, you know what? We'll get them tomorrow, because we're going to go back and I'm going to prepare as hard as I can again. If I need to make an adjustment here or there, great. But it allows you to deal with failure better, because you know you're giving yourself every opportunity, and failure's just going to happen sometimes.
Control the controllables, man.
Exactly.
You know, it's one of those things, man. I again, it kind of doubles back to that point I made earlier, but it's like one of those things I think a lot of people hear, and it's a mainstream thought. Control the controllables, be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Like, I think a lot of people hear it, but it's like taking it to the next level and like buying into it. You know, and there's so much truth to that. The best advice I ever got, obviously I was super fortunate with Pops being in the show, but it was like, hey, when it's all said and done, when it's all over and your journey is done, make sure that you're able to look yourself in the mirror and say that you did everything in your power while you were in it. Because if you don't, and there's things that are still left, you know, that you could have done differently, or work that could have been done that you didn't do for you to get to that next level, you're gonna have a tough rest of your life.
Exactly. And so, you know, and you hear guys talk about that all the time on, you know, leave it all out on the field, you know, all of those things. And I've got two things I'm going to say that. Number one, if you apply that daily, like, don't like, well, when my career's over, I know I'm going to look back and I did everything right. Like, when that at bat was over, did you do everything in your power? Like, apply it in the smaller groups of time instead of, all right, I'm just going to work as hard as I can for the next year or whatever. Like, the only way that it happens is if you do it in small increments that build up over time. The second thing is, I hate to say this, but it's very real right now, because how many baseball players are out there that the last time they walked on a field is the last time they're going to walk on a field in a uniform. And I hate to say that, but high school guys, college guys, like, they didn't know that, you know, that Wednesday game or that Saturday game or whatever was the last time they were going to play in that uniform. And it's devastating to me. But if it's not a chance for younger players and other players that aren't in that really, really tough situation to go, you know what? You really don't know when your last game is going to be. You really do need to leave it out on the field, because I feel terrible for any of those players that were in this situation and they're going, but I just needed this more chance. And now they're like, you know what? I didn't leave it all out there. That was my last game, because you don't know. And so
and then there's regret.
The positive side of it is, for all the other players that aren't in that situation, use it as a reality check to go, I'm not doing enough. I need to work harder. I need to prepare more. I need to give myself every opportunity, because I'm getting a second chance. My teammates that were older than me, they're not getting that. You know, that guy that was going to be the 25th round draft pick, 30th round draft pick, that just needed to have a good senior year, and he was off to a good start, but he's a D2 guy. And, you know, like, that guy's now, they're draft stopping at 5 rounds. Like, now he's going to be a free agent sign, hopefully, or he may not play professional baseball. You don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know. And so you don't know what's going to happen. It's like, well, you know, last year, you know, I'll get him this year. You better make sure last year was good, because it might be all the scouts have to go off of. Like, there's so many factors of that you can never prepare for when it's going to end. You think in your mind, all right, well, it's going to end at the end of my senior year. I'm going to have senior day and I'm going to go off into the sunset. Hey, that's not always the case. And this is a very, very harsh reality right now. But again, use it as a positive.
Oh, dude, and like you and I both know, because we're a little bit older, but how fast does time go in general? It's like high school, right? Like, I was just a freshman, dude, and I was like, oh, well, you know, by my senior year, I'll do X, Y, and Z, and then it was like, wait, I'm I'm old now and I don't have any hair on my head.
So,
what happened?
So to give you, I actually was joking with my wife about this the other day, and I was like, I thought about it. If I had had a kid when I was a senior in high school, when I was 18, the kid would be a senior in high school. And
you're old.
I know. And I wanted to fall over. I was like, oh my good. I am old as dirt.
My 10-year just happened, or it's this year. So that was like 20.
I'm 36 years old.
I just need to talk to you more, so I feel better about myself.
Yeah, thanks, appreciate that.
But it's true, man. Like I think we just and again, it's one of those just being a human being flaws, right? Like we all do it. We all say, "Oh man, like I'll do this next week," and then we didn't know, but it's like three months later. And I think with the point that you were making about the season, man, like you can take that next level and say life in general, right? Like how many crazy things in life happen, right? Like the whole Kobe thing, right? I mean, there's so many variables, and I don't want to get too deep and philosophical and stuff about it, but it's like, that's why I think it's just so important to not only, live your life to the fullest, but like, dude, freaking live your baseball opportunity to the fullest, right? Like, I mean, you're only given so many years in this beautiful game. Like, do everything you can to maximize it, man. That physical, like you were given a gift of being able to do a super difficult physical task, like maximize that.
Yeah, I had some kids in the cage, obviously, before the break, and it was mostly like freshmen and sophomores, like 14, 15, 16-year-olds. And I asked them, I said, y'all love playing baseball? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. And I was like, do you want to continue to play this game for a long time? Because like a 16-year-old, you think you'll play forever. Sure. And I said, unless you put in the work and unless you do what's necessary, you're going to play for 2 more years and you're done. 2 years. In 2 years, you'll never strap up baseball cleats again. And they looked at me and I was like, I'm serious. Like, you guys think that, you just put on the uni and go to work and you play college and you play pro ball? I was like, 7%. 7% of high school baseball players play in college. And their jaws are just hanging open. I was like, that means of the 100 kids that in your little baseball circle, 7 of you are going to go play statistically. Now, if you're on a high-level travel team, and that's where guys get like skewed is, well, my whole team is playing college, so it's just no big deal. But that's not reality. And so I was trying to get them to understand that, like, you have a very finite window, all right? And now guys that are like juniors in high school that were like, oh, this was my big like junior year, starting to get noticed, blah, blah, blah. Well, that year's gone.
Right.
It's like, my time clock just got shrunk big time. I've got to now, now I got to really work hard. Well, what if you've been working hard the whole time and you were that much farther ahead of the game? On the flip side of that, and I had a conversation with one of the dads of one of my kids the other day, it was the kids that are juniors that are uncommitted. Don't panic, because you're not losing recruiting time because nobody's getting recruited.
Sure.
There's going to be an enormous amount of signings. It's just everything is getting pushed back because they're like, well, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? I was like, work your ass off. Keep working. Keep trying to get better. I was like, don't waste time with improving your game, but you're not losing recruiting time because everybody's in the same boat. Recruiters aren't watching players. Players aren't playing. So don't freak out. Use it as a time to just continue to get better so that when you do get to play, you're good.
But what you can do, and this is something that I try to highlight a lot, is like, if you're that junior in high school, sophomore in high school, don't think that those scouts or recruiters or whatever it is aren't checking out your Instagram and checking out your Twitter, and they're going to absolutely love if you're posting videos of you grinding your face
100%,
off.
100%.
So I had a video, I'm going to do it, shameless plug. I had a video go on Pitchers Nation on the Instagram page. Pitchers Nation has got like 200,000 followers, and it was my video of me in the backyard just throwing. I had 4 scouts reach out to me. Hey, you got a contract next year?
No
it's
kidding.
Just stuff like that, right? Like, you never know. We live in this society where we're all connected, right? Like, we have so much access to all of this stuff, and it's like, use that. If you are not using that to your baseball advantage, then you are wrong. I'm sorry. If you have dreams, yeah,
it's unreal, man. Because you're totally right. I mean, from my perspective, and I haven't really talked about it, but so I've been coaching for, well, let's just say I've been done playing since 2008, 2009, somewhere right in there. All right. So, 11, 12 years I've been coaching full time, worked with big league players, had draft pick guys like for several years now. Okay. So I get on Instagram for the first time.
Oh,
and
yeah, I bet.
All right. So this offseason, I got 4 offers.
Yep.
And I'm not going to talk about the clubs or what the jobs were or whatever, but I got 4 pro job offers, some really big offers and, some not, but because of Instagram.
Yep.
Like I've worked with all these guys, but it didn't matter.
It's your resume, dude. Like it's social media is your resume and it's free. And if you are not utilizing that, like it baffles me. It honestly, it baffles me. And it's like, it comes back to the foundation, right? What is your foundation for why you play baseball? Do you love it? Like, if you love it, then the work that you put in is not going to be hard. It's not going to be difficult. Like, it's going to be fun, dude. The process is fun. Like, even you I bet you, like, you love coaching. Like, you love freaking seeing new guys, dude, and, like, developing that plan. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time, I'm one of the luckiest people on earth because
100%.
I truly get to do there's 2 things that I love more than coaching baseball. It's, God and my family, and I put in this little thing, and then hunting. So I have those 2.
I love you, redneck.
I am. Hey, bro, if you look, hold on. I'm going to turn. I was
going to say, where's your bow at?
We see the deer heads, and then on the other wall, I've got the bear, and all that. So no, but I literally, and people laugh at me, but like when I see hitters make an adjustment, like when I see things click, I will literally, and I laugh at myself about this, I literally get chills. Like I'll walk down the cage and I'm like, look at my arm. I've got chills. Like I'm so fired up to see a hitter be successful that it makes my job unbelievable because I'm literally in there doing the thing that I love the most, having fun and getting paid to do it.
And that's your reward, right? Like the results of it.
Exactly. So my rewards are, and me and Pat talked about this. We've had a lot of deep conversations, and it's one of the things from a coaching standpoint. If there's any coaches out there that are listening to the podcast, I do this because I love it, and one of the things that I've always done is I'm going to put my players and my players' success first. If I put them first, the money will always be there. But if I try to make money doing this and put hitters' success secondary, then I will always be chasing money. I'll never make money. I'll never drive the business that I'm wanting to do. But if I just focus everything I do on the hitters being successful, I don't have to worry about anything. Am I going to be a multimillionaire? No. And I don't care because I get to do what I love doing. But if I've made this my motto for my business model is I'm going to put my player success first. If that's there and I care about the players first, the money will be there. I don't have to worry about it.
Right. 100%, man. I love that, dude. But your boy's got to run. I need to ask you, those Zoom calls, how can people find those Zoom calls? Can they get in on that? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So they are Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday nights. We've got one coming up tomorrow, which is, what's the date tomorrow?
I don't even know what today is.
Yeah, it's Friday, April 11th. Or no, Friday, April 10th. That's tonight. So we got Friday, April 10th. We've got Sunday, April 12th is the last one in this session of 6. And then we're going to do another set of 6 going forward. And we may alter it, but you can sign up on my Instagram in the bio, my website, which is outfronthitting.com. On the calendar page or on the Train with Outfront Hitting page. You can also sign up on Coach Ferber's Instagram page. Click the link in his bio. And they're awesome, man. We've had a lot of fun doing them so far. I'm excited about the one tonight.
Yeah, gosh. I'm going to jump in there just because I want to hear you guys talk. How do you guys get words in of being that you guys just talked?
Hey, no joke. We literally have phone calls ahead of time. And we have little timers going with our curriculum.
You have a word count?
We have to, because especially with me, I never shut up. Ferber talks a lot too.
Dude. Passion.
And once we get going, I'll look down. I'm like, Bro, I've been talking for 30 minutes, like
Bro,
just
this
like me and
podcast
you.
has been 50 minutes, man. It's like, holy smokes, I got a client right now. But hey, thank you so much, man. We're gonna do this again. Appreciate you. I'll sign you off the air.
Awesome. Thanks, man.